What's going on, folks? Good evening. How are y'all this evening? Welcome to tonight's episode of the Run and Gun Podcast. It's conference championship week, and that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about everything such as that, scenarios, all that crazy stuff that Ace likes to speculate about. It's his favorite time, one of his favorite times of the year.
The
So,
board, I gotta go grab it. It's on the other side of the monitor.
so yeah, we're gonna talk about all of that, and then we're also gonna talk about head coaching turnover in the NFL, as well as the history that's on the line that FAMU can make this weekend too in the SWAC championship, and head coaching moves that were also made this weekend in the realm of the HBC World too. So it's a lot of good stuff tonight. We're going to hit on a lot of good stuff tonight. So
Yeah, we are.
So Ace, you got anything before we get going?
This could be the last game of FAMU season. I doubt it. I think they're gonna have another one coming.
Yeah,
sometime later on. So I'm not too worried about that, but we're going to preview all the goodies in that game. Then we have an underdog Bama coming in. Like, they should be underdogs. I don't know why Bama fans are mad that they are, they're happy they're underdogs because they're supposed to be anyway. But, they get Georgia coming up. There's some other guys. The big Pac-12 showdown coming up with Oregon, Washington. Going to preview that. That's going to be a fun one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Washington hasn't been looked the same since they beat Oregon. So who knows? That could be an upset game coming up there. Yeah. NFL, we both have teams that need new coaches, but we'll talk about that when we get to that.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned that about Oregon, and I have something that I noticed last night with that I'm going to hint at, but we're going to go ahead and roll this intro so y'all don't go anywhere.
Get your friend, tell a friend, like, share, subscribe. And yeah, let me go post this intro on Twitter while he runs it.
Let's go.
Post the link.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is GP.
This is the Bug.
This is JC.
This is Flash.
This is Jimi Hendrix.
And you're listening to.
And you're listening to.
And you're listening to.
And you're listening to the Run and Gun Podcast.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so right on time of the transition too. I like it. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So as you know, SWAC championship is this weekend and everything. So you got FAMU and you got Prairie View this weekend. As far as the weather goes in Tallahassee, it's not favorable. It was at a 90% chance for Saturday. It was at a 97% chance for Saturday. But now it's gone down to what I saw a few minutes ago, about an hour ago. It was down to about 78%. So I mean, honestly, of course, praying about it. You hope for good weather, but if you have to go in the rain, then you got to go in the rain. You just hope for no thunder and no lightning at this point, honestly.
That works to FAMU's favor anyway. If it rains, they could just ground and pound them out to oblivion.
I agree with that, honestly. And it's like, Prairie View, I don't think is a good tackling team either. So it's like at that point, when you are able to ground and pound and wear down a team, especially if you're able to do it early, because arm tackling is very much a thing in the rain. And honestly, from what we saw with Prairie View last time when they came for homecoming, I think that if you are able to establish a run game and get to Prairie View secondary into that second and third level, yeah, you got a chance to break some long runs for TDs, or even just break long runs and establish your dominance early. So advantage, yes, FAMU. Really, running or passing is an advantage for FAMU. So I think really And of course, Dark Cloud defense against kept step up to the occasion. So if you're Texas, if you're Prairie View, you're like you're gonna have to fight. You're gonna have to fight because honestly, I don't think Prairie View's physical enough to play with FAMU. Well, I just don't think they are. I felt maybe Alcorn might have been personally, my own personal opinion, but I don't think Prairie View is. Although I think the second time around will be tougher.
Yeah, the Prairie View FAMU game is one of two double headers, not double headers, but like the second time the same teams are facing each other this season. Also, the other one being Oregon, Washington.
Mhm.
So we were talking with Coach last week, and he was like saying there is a challenge of trying to beat the same team twice. Then also it's like it's kind of like a double-edged sword, basically, where you kind of know what you could deal with and what you're good at already against them, but you also have to remember they're not going to run the same stuff that they did last time. So you have to just keep that in mind. But talent doesn't waver on a second go around. You know what I mean?
I fully agree. That's facts.
And so while you can coach up a different scheme to play the same team again, if the talent gap is still, like here, no matter where you go on your coaching scheme, you're not going to be able to close it because it's going to still be that set focus point. So it's kind of like, I'm not too worried about this game, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, no, same. Because and it is like what Coach said, and I relate it back to, obviously, I look back at the UCF Memphis clashes that we got in that was it 2018? I want to say it was 2018 when UCF beat Memphis in 2018 and then beat them again in a shootout. A game like that, it's like you have to just you got to know how to prepare. Coaching is going to matter. It's like everything you said, Ace. I'm not going to rebuttal it, but it's like everything you said. And then to answer this right here, will Prairie make it more competitive the second time around? You got to go in thinking that it's going to be more competitive the second time around. You got to anticipate it being not as easy because honestly, you went into homecoming thinking it wasn't going to be easy, and then because Willie Simmons said it himself on homecoming, and I said it in the pregame on Thursday night. Willie Simmons stated his toughest battles have come from his closest friends. Bubba McDowell, former Miami Hurricane, former assistant under Willie Simmons, and then Coach Dan Lemke, who's a friend of the show. They both worked under Willie Simmons, both coming back to brag again. They know Coach Lemke, he knows that offense. He's very familiar with FAMU's style. He's going to have his guys ready to play the second time around. But however, it's up to those guys to be physically up to the challenge to do it again.
There's that too, because like you look at Saban also. Saban, his toughest challenges come from both Kirby and Lane. So it's not there isn't precedence because even Willie Simmons, like we were talking about, he's dealt with that same issue too.
Yep.
And for FAMU, they've got to be able to anticipate that Prairie View is going to make the changes, like I said earlier, but then they also have to not overthink it, like how Coach said last week, paralysis by analysis, because if they overthink what they're going to do too much, they're going to get themselves in trouble.
I agree. I fully agree. And that brings me to the next point. FAMU has a chance to do something very few can say they have this weekend. What is that? Not many teams can say that they've won conference titles in 3 different conferences. So FAMU under Jake Gaither and in years past, or many, many years past, I want to say like before World War II, won multiple SIAC conference titles. And then you fast forward, multiple MEAC titles. And then this weekend, a chance now to secure a conference title in the SWAC and do it in year 3. And also be ranked in the top 5. It says a lot because it's actually funny. It's funny if you ask me because, and I know you remember it as well, when FAMU first joined this conference, which is crazy because that's when you joined us.
Oh, yeah, same time, same year. It was
Exactly.
FAMU's first year in the SWAC. And we talked about it.
And it's funny how everybody that whole off season was like, it's rough in the SWAC. It's so hard in the SWAC.
Y'all ain't gonna make it.
Exactly.
I remember. Oh, that was some fun stuff
Exactly.
going on.
It's like, oh, FAMU doesn't even have the best wide receiving core in the SWAC. FAMU doesn't even have the best defense in the SWAC. FAMU doesn't have the best quarterback in the SWAC. But it's like, okay, all FAMU's done to the whole entire SWAC is just basically kick your ass. So what was so tough about it? What's been so tough about it?
They came in and they made that conference their own home, and nobody did. Well, Dion gave them some trouble. I ain't gonna say it was smooth sailing in the SWAC, but once Dion left, there's been their conference, man. This year.
Of course. And it very well might be next year, but that's a conversation for after the Celebration Bowl. But it is in FAMU's favor, and this conference does really belong to FAMU now. I don't see another team right now going into next year that is physical enough to match what FAMU has built. I just don't see it. But speaking of other programs and other coaches, this also happened.
Bye, Mr. Hugh.
Bye-bye, Mr. Who?
Bye-bye, Mr. Hugh.
Yeah. Dude, honestly, I'll be real with you. I feel like 2 years wasn't enough.
Grambling had a lot of work with them, and I think they kind of rushed it.
I just feel like they didn't give him enough time, man. I feel like
But that's what I mean. They kind of rushed firing him. I mean,
oh yeah. Prime threw a wrench in our plan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. I honestly, I was telling somebody that
when you go back and look at it, right, the only games FAMU has lost in the last 3 years have been the times to USF, the 2 times to Jackson State when Dion was there, the UNC game Drake May's coming out party,
yep,
and the Southeast Louisiana playoff game. Those are the only games FAMU has lost in the last 3 years.
So 2 out of the 6 were from one conference opponent. And yeah, he's absolutely right.
And one was a Power 5 school and the other was a
Group of 5.
Yeah, Group of 5. So it's not like they haven't lost to any other SWAC team besides Dion.
Yeah, so because now you gotta look. Yeah, you definitely gotta look at it like that. It's like, really, if it wasn't for Dion coming in and saving the day, you're probably looking at the 3rd straight SWAC championship being played in Tallahassee this weekend. But that wasn't the case, and because, dude, honestly, hey, I think this team does it again next year. I think they have the potential to do it next year. They still have to deliver.
They have the depth and they got the coaching staff.
Yeah.
They can survive the guys they're going to lose this year. So, and
yeah.
I mean, look at them. They lost 2 NFL caliber players. Well, technically 3 NFL caliber players in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And they still going. They've lost countless coaches, still going. So it's not like they can't survive that. And that's not even mentioning all the guys who graduate who are really good role players.
Yeah. Ace is hitting it. Yeah, Ace is hitting it on the spot. I like the conference championship week just brings the best out of you. Crazy.
I'm gonna be so brain dead this week and next week. So don't expect this type of enthusiasm next week. Next week is in the middle of finals week. I'm gonna be dead next week, bro. It's gonna be miserable.
It's fine. You'll be all right. But yeah, so back to this right here. I don't think that they were. I think you're right. They did kind of rush this firing because now it's like, who do you go get? You're probably going to clean up in the. That's true too. That's very true too. Because you look at the rate in which players are just decommitting. There's a quarterback from Utah that just decommitted. There's an endless amount of players from Miami that just decommitted. You had, I think, 2 players. Campbell's quarterback just decommitted. Or not decommitted, hit the portal. You had one of their linebackers hit the portal. There's a tight end out of Southeastern Louisiana who hit the portal. Like, there's a lot of talent in the portal that Coach Rispers and company can go get. And Coach Rispers is literally licking his chops right now about all this talent that he sees that just jumped in the portal. and likely will have at minimum 1 or 2 years of eligibility left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah,
And every year, there's guaranteed probably FAMU's going to pull in at least 20 guys.
yeah.
I'd take the over on that, on how many guys they pull in the portal. If the over under was 20, I'd take the over.
25. 25. Guys that can come in and play right away, 25. Or guys that
They're gonna pull in some Division 1 guys, like FBS, the big boys basically. They're gonna pull in those guys. They're gonna pull in a couple skill guys. They'll be fine.
primarily at line along the offensive and defensive lines. I think that's where you
Well,
go.
the big boys.
Yeah,
The big boys.
yeah.
And people want to go play for
Willie Simmons.
Willie Simmons. So it's not like they ain't even got an appeal. Like, you look, I'm gonna go NFL on this one. Like, you look at it, they had a poll for what players would view as the most, like what coach they would want to play for the most, right? Guess who was dead last? There's like players have guys, and this applies to college too. It's like players, there's certain coaches that can have an appeal and a kind of aura on them that draws players to them.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys just don't have it, but Willie Simmons got it. They cooking with gas right now.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, definitely. I feel like this firing was rushed because now it's like, who are you going to replace him with? I don't know who. I mean, are you going to go the celebrity coaching route? Are you going to go back to the NFL, look for an NFL reject, or
They're gonna go call Ed Reed.
I don't know. I mean,
Fix
You know-
Bethune's mistake.
to be honest with you, speaking of that, another NFL player was mentioned as far for a head coaching job at another school. Because Clarence McKinley got fired at Texas Southern, and Andre Johnson.
They wasn't.
Andre Johnson got
Time
mentioned.
after only 2 years, yeah.
Wait, bring that one back. I didn't see it.
They weren't behind Q. I don't think they were either.
Yeah, because I remember when Hugh Jackson wanted to bring in Art Briles. He wanted to bring in Art Briles to be the offensive coordinator, and the leader of that charge was Doug Williams, saying that this isn't the Grambling that I attended and stuff. And he was a huge proponent of being against Art Briles coming in there, and so they just didn't bring in Art Briles. So I could see where I don't think that they were behind Hugh either. So now they're going to go out there and get their guy and who they feel is the right guy. And it may not be a flashy name either. And we'll see if it either sinks or swims. Hate to say it, but they might try to throw paint at the wall and hope it sticks. What?
No, I'm just laughing at it.
Oh. Yeah. And then the other thing too,
Oh,
before we move on, is Howard is still waiting in the wings for whoever wins this game this weekend. As well as even too, you have North Carolina Central who lost to Richmond this weekend. I was actually impressed with the first half of that game. Sat there and watched it. NC Central jumped out.
NC Central.
Yeah, they jumped out like 20-7. And then, Davis Richard gets hurt. And then it's all downhill from there. That offense just sputtered.
Yeah. Well, that takes us on to the. I feel bad for NC Central though. If they didn't fumble that end of season, they should have been in the Celebration Bowl. But they fumbled.
They didn't.
Not like actually fumble, but like fumble figuratively.
They didn't fumble. They got hit. They got hit by a Mack truck. I'm not even trying to be funny. They got hit.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean by that. I'm just saying like they had their own destiny in their hand and they just dropped it and got hit.
Facts. That's fact.
With that being said, let's move on to this side of it.
Yeah, so a couple not head coaching changes, but a couple of coaching changes happened this weekend in the NFL, and one of them, unfortunately for Ace, was not Dennis Allen. So he's still waiting for that. I know it's probably not
I'm gonna
going
have to wait a couple of weeks. I'll probably have to wait till January.
to.
I mean, now if Detroit wins by 40, Detroit, can you do me a favor?
Honestly, they might.
I mean, Detroit motivated. Detroit got their butts slapped by Green Bay. I didn't think Green Bay had that in them to go into Detroit like that and whoop them. I would have thought Jordan Love looked like Aaron Rodgers on Thursday. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know if you saw that. We were all cooking, but while I was cooking, I had my phone right there and I was watching it. And boy, oh boy, I didn't think Jordan Love, after the first 10 weeks of how this season's worked for Jordan Love, I didn't think he had it in him. I'll be real. But he did play like how I thought he was going to play at the beginning of the season. Just took him a little bit. But Detroit's missing Gardner Johnson bad. That secondary just looks meh.
Yeah, honestly,
Like you got burned by Christian Watson, who's been mid all year. Romeo Dobbs was kind of non-existent, but Jaden Reed cooked you. So I mean, it is like
I was very disappointed in Detroit on Thanksgiving, but it goes back to what, again, friend of the show, Coach Lemke said a year ago. Because remember when we had Coach Lemke on, and he was telling us, every year people think the Lions are going to pull out on Thanksgiving, and then they lay an egg.
Wasn't he a Vikings fan?
Yeah, he's a Vikings fan, but he was saying like his wife.
The wife is a Lions fan. Yeah, that's right.
And sure enough, it happened again.
I don't think Detroit's won on Thanksgiving in a long time. It's been like almost 20 years or over 20 years.
Probably when Barry was there.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I actually, it's funny, on Thanksgiving, like that day, I saw a highlight come up of Michael Vick literally shredding the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. Like running, throwing, and passing. Like, well, not running and throwing, throwing and passing is the same thing, but literally running and throwing the ball. Like, it just was not fair. Him, Crumpler, Dunn, all three just shredded the Lions alive. And I'm like, yeah, this has been going on for a while. It's pitiful, but this is how long this has been going on for. So, hopefully they can bounce back against the Saints. I think that they will. I anticipate that they will.
Please.
Your frustrations are just so funny.
Bro, I don't want to do it again. I feel like every week I have to do this stuff. I ain't seen the Lions win on Thanksgiving since.
Dang, how long ago was that?
Drunk, how old are you?
Look, honestly,
that is a long time, bro.
Dude, I'm being honest with you, man. The Lions. I was a kid when John Kitna was the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. So ask your Seahawk fan brother who John Kitna is, because he was 3 in Seattle before Russell Wilson was 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then who else was there? Yeah, honestly, I can't even tell you who was the quarterback of the Lions back then, because the Lions were just like, the Lions made the playoffs back then when I was a kid, but like, or when I was a little kid, like little, but like they weren't like lighting the world on fire. I'm gonna look that up. The Charlie Batch.
I don't even know how old that is.
Lions. Let's see. So, okay, he did play for the Lions. He played for the Lions back in 98 to 2001. Okay. Yeah, see, that was back when I was little.
That was before my time, bro. Like, come on now.
Yeah, which that was back. No, Barry left after like 97 or 98, I think. But
yeah, it's been over 20 years since Detroit won a Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it feels, honestly. So, like, it was.
Yeah, I'm 20, so like, yeah, obviously that's older. I don't think I've ever seen Detroit win a Thanksgiving game.
I don't think I have either, honestly. Even if they did, I was not paying attention because I remember.
Okay, when you say original CJ Stroud, you mean NFL CJ Stroud or what you thought CJ Stroud was going to be? Because those are two different type of guys. What you thought CJ Stroud was compared to what he actually is very, very, very different. So just got to clarify on that. All right, but back to what we were talking about there. So yeah, the Ravens somehow they keep winning. The offense hasn't gone and clicked all the way, especially with Andrews hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But they're finding ways to win.
They also have
That's
Isaiah
what they
Likely at tight end, and that's been very impressive too.
Zay Flowers, I want to see him get more yardage, like more like crossing routes, kind of more middle, intermediate. He needs more intermediate work too, because I feel like everything with him is very short and deep. There's no like intermediate work. That offense has no intermediate work.
Honestly, you know what? He's a very excellent football player. The more I watch him, the more and honestly, you know whose game he reminds me of, like, or whose game I can compare his to? Marcus Riley at FAMU reminds me a lot of Zay Flowers. A healthy Marcus Riley. But keep up. Ace, can you stop bringing up pre-draft CJ Stroud thoughts? You don't do this when he brick. Hey.
Hey, you was the one who came and you the one who came in this chat and was talking stuff about CJ. So I gotta keep it. It's ingrained in my head, man. I'm sorry.
But I will say though, Zay Flowers makes plays.
Zay Flowers is a Lamar fanboy though, so I didn't know about that.
Yeah, like he making plays though, whereas Hollywood wasn't making plays like how Zay Flowers making plays. Because I saw Lamar getting the ball out there to Zay Flowers, and realistically speaking, low key, I think the Mark Andrews injury was probably the best thing.
Zay Flowers' target share is just going like this, man.
Exactly, because now it forces Lamar to not utilize the safety valve at tight end and just go to his receivers. Plus, Odell's there too, so you gonna have to feed Odell to keep him happy. But
Odell does get mad when you don't get it, so you got to keep him happy.
And right now, he's more of a decoy, really, to draw attention away.
Mm-hmm. And Rashad Bateman actually surprisingly hasn't looked like a complete bust right now. But I put a tweet out on Twitter after the Ravens-Chargers game, right, for Sunday night. And I said history tends to repeat itself. And if you look at it, so this NFL draft, remember, the Dolphins didn't have a first-round pick. So there was only 31 picks in this draft, right? So every pick got moved up technically.
Mm-hmm.
And if you looked at it, in 2020, right, the 21st overall pick was Jalen Reagor. And the 22nd overall pick, give me a second. Let me make sure it was 21 and 22 and not 20 and 21. But Jalen Reagor went, and then Justin Jefferson went, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, 21 and 22. I was right. This year, last past draft, so that was a TCU wide receiver in Jalen Reagor, and then the wide receiver went after him, right? We all know how that's worked out. This year, since there was only 31 picks in the draft, the Chargers technically, while it was listed as the 22nd overall pick, they technically had the first 21st overall pick. They took a TCU wide receiver, same spot. Guess who went after him? Zay Flowers. Now, I'm not saying Zay Flowers is going to end up like Justin Jefferson. They're two very different players.
Very true.
But when you look at what Quentin Johnson has done so far in the league, you're like,
I haven't heard much from Quentin Johnson.
He's been bad. He can't win routes and he drops the ball a lot.
So yeah,
he had a wide open. He had a game-winning touchdown deep play the week before this one. So last week, he dropped that ball so bad, man. It was like right here, and he just dropped it. Like, bro, what are you doing?
Something about those TCU guys, to be honest with you, man. Something about them.
I do. Josh Doxson too. Like, you don't touch TCU wide receivers.
It's becoming a trend. Now,
it's worse than Ohio State quarterbacks.
But see, CJ Stroud killing the narrative.
Yeah, that Ohio State narrative about their quarterbacks.
I mean, but
and even the Monday Night Football game with Justin Fields, man. Like, 2-minute drill. Luke Getsy finally got to stop calling plays and they actually let Justin Fields throw down the field. Oh my God, what happened? pretends to be shocked when he went and won the game.
You
And
got
it wasn't a bubble screen every 2 plays.
and see, part of it is you got to just let players just play, because sometimes the part of it is just when you handcuff guys, that kind of restricts them. Sometimes you just got to go out there and just play versus thinking about it. When you start thinking about things, that's when problems arise. But if you just go out there and just do what you do and just play and just be yourself, much like with everything in life, it'll be fine. Simply put.
For sure, but it's like when you watch Fields, right? It's like everything was within 10 yards of it. It wasn't even everything was at the line of scrimmage. They weren't even moving that ball at all. And you're like, what are you doing? He can throw it, And it wasn't like they didn't handcuff him before he got hurt. They were letting him throw it far, and he was cooking. He's played 5 less games than Mr. Derek Carr, and he still has more touchdowns than him. Now, it's not saying much, but then again, it's still saying a lot when you've played 5 less games and you still have more touchdowns than a dude who's getting paid $40 million a year. But we can talk about that if you want. Or you want to talk about the Bucks, or you want to talk about Panthers firing Frank Reich because they have a terrible owner with zero patience. Let's just talk NFC South for the rest of the thing here. Nobody cares about Jack Del Rio. He's trash. The whole Washington. I expect what's his face, Ron Rivera, to be fired in the next 2 weeks.
Ooh.
So we're gonna act like Fields don't overthrow short passes all the time. Well, when you get certain plays running and the defenders actually know what the play is and they just blow it up in 2 seconds, you just kind of have to just throw it over his head.
I think we know what we need.
We'll get into this guy in a minute. Sorry, Will. We'll get into him in a minute.
I think
we're
what
gonna
we
talk
need-
to Panthers first.
I think what we need to do, honestly, for Christmas is we need to get Ace a Justin Fields jersey. Not Ohio State Justin Fields jersey, but like a Chicago Bears.
Why would I want torture? I wouldn't want that. That's gonna be zero value in like a couple months.
See, I was just trying
Free
to
Justin Fields. I already said that before.
See, I was just trying to get in the Christmas spirit, and here he go.
I'll take an Ohio State one.
Yeah, I was gonna say because those never die. That one has value. But yeah,
Or a CJ Stroud jersey. I'll take that. I will not want a Cal McCoy jersey ever in my life, so don't worry about that.
Well,
never ever. But focusing on the NFL. So, Commanders fired Jack Del Rio, among other guys on the staff. Not surprising. Ron Rivera should be fired soon because the Commanders are terrible. And they should see what they have with Eric Bieniemy before the season's over.
I was going to say that. Eric Bieniemy might be in line to get that promotion.
He needs to get out of Chicago, though.
Yeah, I think he does, too. He needs to get with someone that's not going to handcuff him.
All right, back to Bieniemy. Yeah, I think Bieniemy should get a shot.
Yeah, I think that was the emphasis too. It's like, you know what, we're gonna see how things go and how well do guys respond to him. Give or take. Remember the thing at the beginning of the season saying like, he's too tough of a coach, which is like a testament not to him, but more so to the culture that was in Washington and that has been in Washington for such a long time, because Washington's not a winner. And you're seeing now that that is what you need in that locker room to get Washington back to where they were before. So a coach like Eric Bieniemy would probably be good in a promotion. So I think that was probably the plan all along was, bring in Eric Bieniemy. We have our coach, we have our guy on staff already. We don't have to interview him. We don't have to worry about it. They're probably going to have to look into that Rooney Rule thing and interview a couple coaches still. But it's like, okay, we got our guy. He's already on staff. When we fire Ron Rivera, or if we do, we don't have to worry about looking outside. Ron Rivera is the only coach who sucks, and I still feel bad for him. Like, damn, just be a good coach. Honestly, aside from that 2015 Carolina Panthers team,
his teams have been mid. He's been mid at best.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is very true. But yeah,
his head coaching tenure is done, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Eric and I think yeah, I think Eric Bieniemy is what the Commanders need, and I don't know what the Panthers need, honestly.
I hope the Panthers don't hire Ben Johnson, but they probably will. They're gonna, because they fired almost everybody on the offensive staff. They pretty much put Jim Caldwell with Bryce Young. So he's not the head coach, but he's basically like, how do I say this? You have the head coach, but then you have the guy who's pulling the strings behind the head coach for the quarterback. So not the quarterback coach, but he's got like an elevated role for that.
The passing game
So
coordinator.
sure. Yeah, so he's got a role there, but they put the special teams coordinator in charge of the team. So there's that. This is it right here. I have a feeling this out because Staley should be fired immediately, but they're not doing it for some reason. But I think Ben Johnson's going to be the coach for the Chargers. Kellen Moore has been terrible in LA. Well, I don't know if it's because it's Justin Fields who's dragging the team, like making it so slow, or if Justin Herbert, not Justin Fields, Lord. Anyway, or is it Kellen Moore? I think it's Kellen Moore mostly because, like, that wasn't even much of a fan of him in Dallas to begin with, so
I'm
kind of
telling
just
you, dude,
sticking with it.
I'm telling you, dude. Sean Payton should have waited another year to come out of TV and get into coaching because he would have. I feel like he would have been better off with a guy like Justin Herbert versus having Russell Wilson. I'm so mad Deuce Staley ever touched anything Panthers. Stained that man record for nothing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's true.
They got. I was shocked Josh McCown got canned too. Like they was canning everybody, and it was like you realize the person most at fault for this whole thing is Gunner, right? Like I don't even think he's realized he's the issue in that team yet.
Oh, David Tepper.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the issue. But I don't even know who the GM is there. I'll be real. I don't know who it is.
Then did you see David Tepper's statement about
Don't
Bryce?
get me. Why do you think I said? Why do you think I said he's the issue? That was a bunch of crap that he put out there. That's like, how do I say this nicely? You know when I'm trying to do this without getting myself in trouble. All right. Think to if someone made an allegation, right? And they go out and they make all these different. They put a lot of words behind it, right? And they make this very elaborate explanation. And you're like, yeah, you was definitely them allegations was true.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way how he phrased that whole thing, it just made me think, oh yeah, the Caldwell and Reich and all of them in Carolina, McCown probably even, they all wanted Stroud.
Hey, it's like that.
And the part where he said he thought Houston was gonna go to 1 to take Stroud, so they could take Fields at not Fields, Young at 2. Boy, you see where my brain is at right now. Sorry, wrong Ohio State guy. I'm with the Alabama guy. Yeah, so they were gonna take Bryce Young at 2. They wanted to trade up to 2 because they thought Houston was gonna go to 1 to take Stroud. I'm like, why would Houston do that? They could just sit at 2 and take whichever one they want.
Yeah.
Because they knew once Chicago started listening to offers, they weren't going to take a quarterback.
Yeah.
And CJ Stroud pre-draft, outside of a couple people, especially with that S2 score coming out, was making him seem like he couldn't process anything for squat. It just made you say like, sure. You guys are going to say CJ is going to go 1. Yeah, nobody really had CJ going 1. They had Anthony Richardson going 1.
Yeah, see, that was crazy. And see, this is where I look at this and I say
Bryce Young is NFL Isaiah Thomas.
This
But
is
not 2017 Isaiah Thomas, 2021 Isaiah Thomas.
And this is where I look at this and I say, I feel like regardless of how much knowledge you may have as a coach in the NFL, because Frank Reich, he's got a good amount of experience. But I feel like at the end of the day, there's a higher power at B that's going to tell you that, you know what, this is who you need to take. So it's like, how much control do you really actually have as a head coach over the personnel that you may want? Because it's like at one point, it's like, you know, I feel like part of it is they could have had CJ Stroud, but they went with the Alabama guy because they wanted to sell tickets.
There's that, and also I will say this: I don't think CJ would have played as well as he did if he went to Carolina with Frank Reich instead of D'Amico Ryan's coaching staff in Houston and the
Of
culture
course.
they built over there.
Of course. Now, because that's one thing that, you know, a lot of people may not like the owner in Houston, but
They don't get involved.
that's true too. Now, the other thing too is they hit on quarterbacks. Recently, they've been hitting on them. They hit on Deshaun Watson. The only thing was he fell off.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now, with Bryce Young, there's a couple things at issue here. They said he was just elite process. Okay, who wasn't your bust in this draft, Drunk? Because you can't say everybody was a bust in this draft. So you got to reply to that before I respond to this. Now, the line in Carolina is struggling hard. That is true, man. Okay, we thought that was it last year's draft class, right? No, not last year. Well, not this last draft, but the one before this one, to 2022 draft. There was Evan Neal, the dude from North Carolina that the Panthers have right now. Not North Carolina State. And Cross in Seattle, right? And they're Penning and a couple other offensive tackles, right? They said this was going to be a generational tackle class. And Evan Neal and Ekwonu, or whatever the dude's name is from North Carolina State, both of them two been playing like actual butt cheeks. Let's be real. They've been actually just bad. They're getting beat every snap, it feels like. They're not doing them no favors. And, like, yeah, Bryce Young's line sucks, but you got to also look at CJ Stroud's line. See, this is what I mean, bro. You said everybody was me. You said Bijan was going to be Najee, didn't you? I think he did say he was going to be like Najee, so I can't take too much on Drunk on this stuff, man.
I mean, I mean, look, it's his first year. He getting off.
All right, y'all got to commit some more recruits to decommit from. All right.
You know,
Everybody's bailing from Colorado. We're gonna get into that once we get to the college football section. But yeah, just wrapping this stuff up with Evan Neal. He's been bad too. Geez, I don't know what happened to Evan Neal. Trevor Penning's bad. It's like all these tackles in this draft class besides Charles Cross. Charles Cross is hurt, for crying out loud. So I can't even say if he's good or bad yet. But somehow Seattle got both Cross and Abe Lucas, and they were good their rookie season. So I can't fully put out judgment on those two guys, but everybody else, man, they've been terrible. Now, do you want to talk about the Saints and the Bucks before we move on to college football, or are we gonna say
yeah,
that?
I was gonna hit on this right here.
Yes, at this current moment in time.
I agree, and I'm actually also.
Ain't that the dude on the Bucks?
Yeah, that is.
Okay, yeah.
Honestly, I'll be.
I really don't know, but yeah.
But now this right here, right for now, is a true statement. Now the Luke Gedeke thing, I think realistically, aside from Tristan Wirfs, the Bucks need to just reinvest in the offensive line.
A lot of teams need to reinvest in their offensive lines.
Yeah, because I think the Bucks offensive line is decent, but it could be a lot better by a lot of people's standards. And well, also too, I don't think the team is as deep either as far as talent goes on the depth chart. So there's a lot that they need to clean up. That's all I'm going to say about that before we transition over.
Now for the AFC is such an interesting thing, right? Because we all know Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Burrow's hurt, so the Bengals are done. Steelers somehow keep winning games. I have no idea how.
Yeah.
But their offense did go for 400 yards, so good for them. The Browns are probably going to be starting Joe Flacco this weekend for some strange reason. How the hell he's in the league, I have no idea, but he is, and he might be starting games. So, okay. You have the Chargers; they're dog crap. The Raiders are dog crap. The Broncos might make the playoffs for crying out loud. Didn't see that coming, because considering how they started, but Sean Payton's coaching his butt off to win games, so good for them, I guess. The Bills can't figure themselves out. They lost to the Eagles in overtime, so Josh Allen can't win clutch games anymore or not ever anymore. He never could to begin with, but
Yeah, that's very true.
So you got that with the Bills. The Dolphins struggle against really good teams who have good pass rushes because Tua gets killed every other snap with that offensive line they have. Then you have, who else am I missing? The Jets. Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, but the Jets might be out of the playoffs by the time he comes back.
Yeah, that was another one. They were like, Aaron Rodgers may come back if we make the playoffs, but it's like you got to get there first. And then
they're not making it out. They need to go back to Zach Wilson. I'm gonna be real. Tim Boyle ain't it. Dolphins are on fraud war. Yeah. I their offense, it looks so fun and stuff, but like when that weather gets cold, I don't know how they're gonna win too many games. If A-Chain can't stay healthy, because I don't think most is going to be able to carry a load like that. So they need that 1-2 punch if A-Chain got to be healthy for that. Am I missing any other teams? All right, I did West, East, Patriots are trash. Already said that. South, oh yeah, Jaguars. Jaguars aren't better than the Ravens right now.
Jaguars are the third best team in the AFC right now, according to the seeding.
Yeah, I would take Houston as the fifth best team, or the fourth.
That would mean Buffalo. Well, Buffalo's a division leader, I think. No.
The Dolphins are division leader. Buffalo is out of the playoffs right now.
So, okay, so the Dolphins are the number 4 then. So technically the Dolphins are the number 4 seed right now.
Yeah, I believe it's Ravens, Chiefs, Jaguars, Dolphins. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Pittsburgh is one of the wild card spots.
Okay, so there's 2 wild card spots.
And I believe Houston probably is one of the other ones.
Yeah, Houston would have to be.
I could just pull up the standings right now and just solve all my issues. Wow, the Browns are 7-4.
Oh yeah, the Browns
Houston's
are
at 6-5. Houston's sitting on the outside. Broncos are 6-5. You know what's funny? The Texans and Broncos have a better record than 3 of the teams in the NFC playoffs. Falcons are at 5-6, Seahawks at 6-5, and the Vikings at 6-6. Everybody in the NFC has a pretty bad record, beside the Eagles, 49ers, and Lions and Cowboys.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that Jalen Phillips injury is gonna suck, but they got JPP. I don't know how much gas he's still on that tank, but they better hope he still has something to give. But yeah, so like the AFC, it's kind of like right now it's the Ravens. If the Ravens and Chiefs played right now, I think the Ravens win. Chargers should do the same with Kellen Moore. Okay, I don't know what we're talking about right now. What that? I assume we mean talk about firing offensive coordinators? Or you're talking about Eric Bieniemy. I assume you're talking about Bieniemy with him becoming head coach right now to see what he could do. If I'm not mistaken, I assume that's what Ash is talking about with that. Is like how we were talking about Bieniemy, giving them a little shot to see how they would do as a head coach and see how players responded to see if they're actually worth anything. I guess it could work as like an interim thing because Chargers are spiraling right now. They got nothing on offense. Their offense looks putrid.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that stuff there. Kansas City needs to just make Rashee Rice the number 1 wide receiver on the team. I don't know what's taking him so long to do that. Travis Kelce, since Taylor Swift stopped attending games, he's been actually and got hurt. Like since Kelce got hurt, he's just not been himself. He has not been good at all. So they just need to give the ball to Rice and let him cook. Now, with that being said, all right, you want to move on to doing the college football conference stuff, and then we'll come back to the Bucs and Saints, or we're gonna just call it quits on them and leave them.
We call it quits on them and leave them.
I agree, leave them right there. I'm fed up with them anyway.
They're both bad products anyway. But So pretty much saying a couple head coaching hires and a couple coaching staff moves. I like how we talked about guys on staff possibly being replacements. So Bobby Petrino has been brought back to Arkansas to work on Sam Pittman's staff. And honestly, I'll be real with you, based on watching the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday after I got back home, I'll be real. I feel like Bobby Petrino might be the replacement for Sam Pittman. Because Bobby Petrino is on he's on life support right now. And then also too, shout out to Coach Henry. He called it last week. Because Mike Elko was hired as Texas A&M's head coach. He called
Didn't we called it last week?
Yeah, it was Coach Henry called it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing too is Tyler Van Dyke and a couple other Miami Hurricane players have all hit the portal.
A lot of guys bailing from Miami. I wonder why.
Hey, it's that culture, man. And then the other thing too is Delaware. The Blue Hens are set to join the Conference USA in 2025, I believe. I think it's 2024 or 2025 coming up.
If Alabama beats Georgia, there is a very likelihood, not a very likely. There is a chance. There is a chance. I wouldn't say it's. Let me rephrase this. I will say there is an impossible chance that no SEC teams makes the playoffs.
On it, look, I'm glad that you brought that up. So
that will be about scenario D when we get into the scenarios. That is like scenario D or E. That's like it's not a very high chance of happening, so that's why it's so low down the list of scenarios. But there's a chance of that happening. So you go on to talk about it. Why there is a very little chance of that happening.
I do feel like, honestly, the committee has an SEC bias. I'm going to call it what it is. You look at ESPN and they're like, oh, there's just because Alabama may beat Georgia, there's no chance. Look, Alabama beating Georgia, in my opinion, is like a forgiveness for Alabama losing to Texas back in September. Because then it's like you beat a conference champion and you beat the team that went back to back. So it's like if you beat Georgia, you're in. Because what's going to happen is they'll probably move Georgia to Alabama will slide up to 4. Georgia will probably fall to 2. And then Michigan will probably go to 1 at that. Actually, no, I think what will happen is, I think Georgia will fall to no, you know what? Ooh, that's tough. Okay. It's going to fall where Georgia and Alabama are going to get in. But I definitely think at that point too, if you're Florida State and Michigan, if they both win, that's your top 4 right there. Because I was looking at it last night. Oregon, if you look at it, Oregon has the worst strength of schedule amongst all the teams that are on the bubble. So Oregon has a worse strength of schedule than Ohio State. Oregon has a worse strength of schedule than Texas and Alabama. So I don't see how if Oregon wins Friday night, I think the Pac-12 gets left out.
Oh, yeah. That's why I say there's going to be a couple scenarios we're going to hit up. So I was saying you want to just get through all the tidbits of everybody bailing from Colorado and Miami and rivalry weekend recaps before we get into the different scenarios, or you want to get into the scenarios right now?
Well, I mean, basically Miami and Tyler Van Dyke and all those players are hitting the portal out of Miami. Colorado that's insane, man. That's insane. They're not buying what I think Deion's selling. And I think Deion should have probably taken a group of 5 job after leaving JSU, to be real with you. That's just my opinion.
He should have. Now, I will say this. Golish is doing a great job with USF. But I'm going to be real,
the turnaround would have been.
They probably should have. He probably should have went to USF and then jumped again.
Yeah, that's what I think so too. Because it would have been. Oh my gosh, Deion in Tampa at USF.
Bro, you are so far behind in the show, man. I ain't gonna be real. You might want to check where you are in the show. He's all the way back to where we're talking about Bryce Young. That's the whole thing.
Oh, well, yeah, no, that's true too. They don't.
Scott Ford is Panthers GM. Okay, so that makes more sense now.
But
All right.
yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead
back
and bring
to-
up Ford.
It's my favorite time of the week. All right, guys. The trusty board is here. How do we want to start with this? Scenario A is going to be
I'm gonna just say
Georgia
that
winning, Michigan, Florida State, Washington.
yes, and
Oh, Washington 3, Florida State 4.
yes.
All right, scenario A. I'm going to just call this one essay.
Now, scenario B would be
Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second.
okay. Go ahead, take your time.
I have to set it up. I don't have a ruler, so these lines are going to be kind of squiggly. How many scenarios do you want to do? 4?
I mean, there's gonna be quite a bit. This
All
is
right,
gonna
let me make this smaller.
be like the whole like CNN election night type thing.
Yeah. I got to get something to wipe this down. I can actually like. All right, so how many spots should we make? 6?
I mean, we make as many as we want. I'm not sure. Is this going to be? Because okay, we got scenario 1. So scenario 2 is basically okay. What happens if Alabama wins? If Alabama wins, I feel okay. Michigan goes to 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I got 6 spots here. So scenario. All right, keep talking.
Yeah, I feel Michigan goes to 1. Washington, I'm assuming in this case, Washington will win. Washington jumps to 2. And I feel like somehow, some way, they might do. I could see that going 2 different ways. I see them doing Florida State dirty, and I see them not. If they do Florida State dirty, Georgia goes to like they fall to 4. Alabama will be 3. I feel like, or flip it. But if they don't do Florida State dirty, here's what'll happen: they'll do Alabama dirty, because then at that point they'll be like, okay, if Georgia loses, we'll still put Georgia in, but their track record's so good that we'll keep them. So then at that point, I think it'll be like Michigan 1, Washington 2, Florida State 3, Georgia 4, and Alabama will be on the outside looking in.
Okay, that's scenario B, right?
That's scenario like C.
Okay, then let's go back to B so I can finally have it all set up. So B was what?
B was they do Florida State dirty and they just leave Florida State out, and Washington and Michigan are 1 and 2 in the country.
So Michigan's 1, UW is 2, and Alabama's 3, and Georgia's 4.
That's if you have Georgia losing the SEC championship, and if they do Florida State. But then you have, again,
that's Bama win, FSU drop, FSU dirty.
But now you have another scenario
I
where
should make this a spreadsheet instead of the board, but the board is so iconic at this point.
I could have just
All right.
up.
I know the board is fun. I need to start just using tier makers, but I really haven't got much experience in that yet.
Okay, so scenario
C.
So you have 1, we have Michigan. And again, this is assuming that they won't do Florida State dirty. You have Washington, 3, Florida State, 4, Georgia. I still think they keep Georgia in at that point.
So it's Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Georgia.
Yeah. I think this is scenario C, where Florida State in because they won the ACC and they're undefeated. And then, I think because of Georgia's, or really, you could really either way, you could take Georgia out and put Alabama in because Alabama's the SEC champion.
Okay. That's fine by me.
So it could also be
I'm gonna just keep this as scenario C. I'm not gonna put Georgia at 4 in this one because Georgia was 4 in the last one.
I was
So
like, also
Bama win. Georgia out because they're the only one with the one loss.
yeah. So
They're
that
1
SEC
loss.
championship can be tricky because I could see it going down like that. Now, scenario D, we have so many scenarios. It's crazy.
Bro,
Scenario
this man is so far behind. He's catching up nice and slow though. All right. Scenario D is
D is if Georgia and Washington both lose. So if Georgia and
I'm gonna put
Washington,
that as doomsday.
if Georgia and Washington both lose, here's what's going to happen. I think you get Michigan at 1. You get Florida State climbing to number 2. I'm going to be messy with it. Florida State
Okay,
climbs.
I don't trust Michigan, and I think Florida State's gonna lose in the playoffs no matter what. Even though as great as their defense is, I don't think whoever the quarterback is gonna be good enough to get the job done.
Yeah, no,
Unless they play that freshman, because I don't think Schoonamaker's the guy for it.
Rodemaker.
Rodemaker, not Schoonamaker.
No, I agree right here. Actually, no. I'm gonna do this for my scenario, but I do agree with Javon though. I don't think Michigan.
All right, we got to keep one for Doomsday though. I think Doomsday one will be if Bama wins, Oregon wins, but then you have Florida State somehow losing the ACC championship, as unlikely as that's going to be.
Yeah. Now, this is what I think will happen if. Actually, no. Let me switch that. This is what I think is going to happen if Alabama
That
wins.
comment popped up mad late. Potentially lose to Iowa. Okay. So do we actually think Cade McNamara is actually going to have a chance to
It could happen.
have that revenge game?
It could happen.
So we're gonna keep that as Doomsday. I'm gonna keep that as Doomsday where all the favorites lose.
Now this is scenario D for me. If Washington loses.
Okay. So Michigan, FSU, Bama, Georgia. But if Washington loses and Georgia wins, who takes that spot?
If Washington loses and Georgia wins, okay. So if Washington
That should be scenario D, but instead of both Washington and Georgia losing. Because I think that would be more likely.
So I'll do it like this then. If Washington loses and Georgia wins, here's what I think happens. So Georgia stays.
No, if that happens, I think they somehow sneak in Texas. I think they either sneak in Texas or Ohio State. I don't think they sneak in Oregon.
I think it sneaks in. You're going to see. I think this happens.
That's what I said. They're going to sneak in Texas.
Oh, wait. This isn't scenario D.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? I was going to say.
No, I'm going to keep this as scenario D. I'll put the other one as scenario F because I think it's more likely that Georgia wins and Washington loses than if both of them lose.
Okay, so this is scenario D. Okay.
Yeah.
This would actually be a pretty interesting playoff. Because what would happen in this case is you get a Georgia-Texas rematch in the Sugar Bowl, and then you're going to have a Florida State-Michigan matchup, which I think we've all been waiting for, in the Rose Bowl in California. I like it. I would not be mad.
I would not be opposed to this one. I think Florida State, with the quarterback questions, I think they could still beat Michigan.
I agree. I agree with Jamon with that too, because I don't think Michigan's that good. I think Florida State could beat Michigan and the Georgia Texas, because every year, except last year, for 90% of the playoffs, every year since 2014, there's always one game that's a blowout, and there's always one game that's hotly contested. I feel like in this case, I feel like the Georgia Texas matchup would be so hotly contested.
No, I think the Michigan-Florida State game will be contested, and Georgia-Texas is the blowout. If I had to put if one was guaranteed to be a blowout and one was guaranteed to be close.
Really?
I don't know if Florida State would blow them out. I think they'd win. I don't know if it would be a blowout.
That's why I think Georgia Texas would be close. I look at how Texas played Alabama, and then
Unless Benson gets like 4 tuds, I don't see how Florida State blows out Michigan. Unless Rodemaker really that good. Or the freshman dude starts. I don't even know his name. He was on my screen for like 2 minutes. So because Florida State, that quarterback, they got some questions over there. They need to answer.
I think he just needed to get comfortable, and I think that game was a good environment for him to go through those growing pains.
I guess. All right. So
Okay.
scenario F would be if both Georgia and Washington lose, right?
Yeah, the one I did previously.
So that would be what? Michigan, Florida State, Bama. Who was 4?
Michigan, Florida State, Bama.
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
All right. So UM, FSU, Bama, Georgia. So Doomsday is all of them losing, right?
Yeah. So what are we doing that one now?
If you want. No, that'd be where the real fun gets trouble, because then there's a lot of one-loss teams.
Yeah. See, that does get messy. So if Georgia loses, oh my goodness. So if Georgia were to lose, I think Georgia's still safe. I think that at that point the SEC gets.
See, this is why we have fun with the board. I have all these scenarios right here, man. And JP's will take the photo and he'll post it with my crappy handwriting.
Yeah.
On this shizzle marker instead of a fine point marker.
So
and we'll solve all issues.
In the scenario of a doomsday matter, I think Texas slides to 1. I think if Alabama at that point wins, I think Alabama. Yeah, Alabama's 2, so Alabama gets in. 3 would be
Georgia?
No. I think 3 would be Oregon.
They would put Oregon over a 1-loss Georgia.
Oregon would be a conference champion. And I think 4 would be Georgia. So I think it looks a little something like this. Because at that point now it's like, okay, Michigan beat Ohio State. We can't put Ohio State in because Ohio State wasn't better than Michigan. Iowa's Big Ten champ, but they're going to be sent to the Rose. They're not the Rose Bowl, probably the Cotton Bowl, because that's probably the next best thing, or the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, that light is killing me. Give it a second. There we go. This should work. Nope, that didn't work at all. Try to turn off the light. Now the light doesn't want to turn off. Turn off. Bro, why is this light not turning off? And I just dropped it. Oh well, there you go.
All right, so I guess I will take a picture of that.
I'll just take a picture and send it to you. It'll be easier.
Yeah, that works. Excellent. But yeah, I think this shakes out. I think Oregon at that point, regardless of their strength of schedule, would get in as well. I do think that they have the weakest strength of schedule, and I think that would put them on a platter for Alabama. I think the Texas-Georgia game would still take place. So realistically speaking, I'm kind of hopeful for that scenario D.
The Georgia, Michigan, FSU, Texas one?
Yeah, like that. I would actually like to see that.
That would low-key be fun.
It would. It really would. But I'm telling you, Friday night is going to be – Friday night's a big deal. Friday night is a very, very big deal. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but it's a serious matter.
This is where the fun begins.
It is. It really is. But for now, I got to.
This is the fun of the board. We should pin this comment. This is the fun of the board right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when the playoff expand, it's going to be even harder to figure out.
It is. Because it's going to 18, 12 teams?
Hey, that is the doomsday. That is this one over here. All lose. That is the doomsday.
Yeah, if they all lose, I think it's going to be Texas, Bama, Oregon, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're going to still try to keep Georgia in and get 2 SEC teams in. But I think at that point, the Big Ten out of it, ACC out of it, Texas. Well, if Texas loses to Oklahoma State, that might put Ohio State back in it. We didn't even think about that.
Technically, that would be all lose. Wait. That's all lose,
Yeah, so that's even so. Damn.
Oh,
so
wait. Oh, crap. If
So now we
that
have
happens, Bama probably goes to 1.
we have a Doomsday number 2 in that case now. So in Doomsday
Oh,
number
crap.
2,
I don't have enough space. I don't have space for that.
I got you. Don't worry. So Doomsday number
But
2.
then it can't fit on the board. You gotta fit it all on the board. I'll probably make a graphic of it later.
Yeah,
Just like send me a thing to remind me to do it, and I'll make one.
yeah, I got you. So let's see: Alabama, Oregon, Texas would be gone. I think 3 would be Ohio.
Georgia sneaks in still. Ohio
Yeah.
State's probably back in.
Ohio State's in at 3, and then Georgia falls to 4 because SEC bias is there. So I think if they all lose, this happens. So this is considering, like, say Washington, Florida State, Michigan, and Texas all lose this weekend, and Georgia. Alabama.
Because when you think about it, a Michigan loss to Iowa is worse than Ohio State loss to Michigan.
Yeah. Or
do you sneak Michigan in at 4 and you put Georgia at 3?
I think they might do this though, to kind of because again, SEC bias is a real thing. Oh man, hold on, we messed up. I think with Doomsday number 2, they might do something like this. Because I think right now they do believe Georgia is still a better team, even if they lose to Alabama. I think you get an Alabama-Ohio State matchup, and then you get a Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart matchup.
They could do that, but none of those games are going to be fun.
I would actually enjoy an Alabama-Ohio State matchup. I think Alabama will rip them to shreds.
That's what I mean. I don't think it'd be fun.
I think Oregon would have to look in the mirror and be like, okay, what did we do wrong from a preparation standpoint? And then also, too, how do we match the physicalness of Georgia? Or physicality of Georgia? Because Dan Lanning's had his time out.
I said this last year. If CJ had this Ohio State defense, he would have won a lot. He would have made a run. He would have beat Georgia for sure in the what bowl was that? The one in Atlanta.
Oh, the Peach Bowl?
Yeah, the Peach Bowl. He would have won the Peach Bowl for sure. His defense sold hard in that game.
Hey, he had a lead. That's all I'm gonna say. He had a lead, and
that game is how I knew he was gonna be great. He won in Georgia, and he did that to Georgia's defense, and that Georgia defense was the best one they had.
Yeah.
But then you have Kyle McCord this year, who basically cost Ohio State the game this year. Pretends to be shocked. Like, I didn't see that coming.
Wow. Well, honestly, we made
That
it.
was fun.
That was.
I think we've got them all. Oh, yeah. Let me send you the photo.
Yes.
Before I forget.
And also to Ace, let me go ahead and get it from you because Saturday. All right. Well, first things first. FAMU versus PV breakdown, SWAC championship breakdown Saturday at 9 a.m. I'm gonna try my best to wake up early. Do not miss it. It's gonna be fun. I don't know where I'm gonna be at, but I will be talking about it and discussing.
Hey, now if Riley Leonard somehow ended up in Ohio State, my interest would be piqued. I ain't gonna lie.
But yeah, so this is taking place 9 a.m. on Saturday. I'm gonna force myself to wake up and do it. I'm gonna have it done. And then also, Ace, let's go ahead and hear it from you.
Since it's gonna be raining,
70%
betting Southeast.
chance. Well, it's gone down to a 78% chance.
I'm gonna still take FAMU 34, Prairie View 17. I'm gonna give him some extra points. 34-17.
So you heard it from Ace. This is what Ace is going with. I'll have my prediction Saturday morning. But yeah, awesome. Okay, Ace. You might hit the nail on it right this time. I know homecoming, I predicted 45-20. I got 45-7. So I hit FAMU's on the mark. I missed Prairie Views, but it's okay. But yeah, folks. So that's gonna do it.
I didn't see that being such a bad blowout last time, to be honest. Though, 17-point game shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. But yeah, folks, that's gonna do it for us this evening. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. This was fun. Before we get out of here, Ace, you got anything?
Orlando got robbed in the in-season tournament. Yeah, Chicago and Boston were complete collusion there with that point spread. Because Missoula for Boston, he told Billy Donovan that they needed 23 points or more to advance. That's how they would have to eliminate Orlando, and Orlando beat both of them in the same week. And I don't think they were very happy with that. I won't. I got finals coming up. I got the finals on this weekend, so I won't be going anywhere.
I'm stuck. I'll be there. Me and my rain poncho. I keep my poncho in my backseat at all times. I keep my poncho in a good chair, but I'm definitely gonna need that poncho this weekend. So I will have it handy, and I will be there, and I will be full on in support. I made sure of it. I had my room selected back in September, and bought my tickets back around or at 10 o'clock when the tickets went on sale. So yeah, I'll be there. We're working on trying to get Ace to a FAMU game one of these days.
Yeah.
So
we got to make it. I was going to go to the USF one this year, and then somebody decided to cancel on me, and I wasn't going by myself.
Oh, I thought when you found out the 100 wasn't going, you weren't going anymore.
Oh yeah, that too, but we won't mention that part. It's easier to blame you than that.
I was gonna say, because I know Chad was upset because Chad was like, man, I came here because I thought I was gonna see the 100. He's like, oh well, I guess I'll have to settle for the $1 million band next week when Alabama comes. And he got to see. I don't even know if the $1 million band came. So, yeah. But yeah, folks, that's going to do it for us this evening. We thank you so much for joining us. Again, make sure you join us Saturday at 9 a.m. FAMU Prairie View Breakdown. Yeah, he's a Magic fan.
13-5, guys. 8-game win streak.
Wow.
Hey, if the Saints are going to cause me depression and the Lightning are going to suck, I got the Magic to bring me happiness. FAMU's bringing some happiness as well, so hopefully the Rattleys don't choke it up.
Oh, they won't. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. With that being said, be a friend.
This again in 2 weeks talking about the SWAC Championship. Not SWAC, the Celebration Bowl.
Celebration Bowl. That's what we'll be doing. Next week we'll be recapping. I'll be dead tired. And who knows? We'll have the good vibes rolling. Shout out Javon, Drunk, Ash, and Will Davis for the comments. It all does what keeps the show going fun.
Yes.
So, until next time.
Good night.